Let's talk about something most of us probably don't think about twice: central heating. It's this amazing, invisible system that keeps us warm and comfortable. But behind that warmth is a story that's literally thousands of years in the making.
You know that little box on your wall, right? You've probably turned it up or down a million times. But that simple dial is actually the command center for a massive system, one with a history that connects us all the way back to ancient engineers and brilliant inventors. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with humanity's earliest struggles to stay warm, then see how the Greeks came up with a first real system. We'll jump to the Industrial Revolution, get to know the thermostat, and finally take a peek at what's next for heating.
All right, first up, the quest for warmth. Before we had any of this fancy tech, just staying warm was one of the biggest challenges of daily life. It was a matter of survival.
So, what are we really talking about when we say central heating? It's actually a pretty simple idea. You have one heat source, and then you use a fluid, like air, water, or steam, to carry that heat all around a building. Simple, right? But it took centuries to perfect.
The very first signs of humans trying to control their home's temperature pop up in ancient Egypt. Now, they didn't have furnaces, so they had to get clever. They built indoor pools right into their homes to use the water to cool the air on those scorching hot days. And then at night, that same water would release the heat it had stored up. It's just a brilliant, low-tech form of climate control.
Okay, so from clever architecture, let's jump forward to the first system that looks a lot like what we use today. And for that, we have the ancient Greeks to thank.
Back around 350 BCE, the Greeks invented something called the hypocaust. And honestly, it's genius. They'd light a furnace in a central spot, but instead of just letting the heat rise, they'd channel all that hot air into a whole network of pipes built under the floors and inside the walls. The building itself basically became one giant radiator.
Then the Romans came along, saw this Greek idea, and decided to scale it up. Big time. They used massive hypocaust systems to heat their famous public bathhouses. And in some spots, they got extra clever and tapped right into natural geothermal hot springs to heat the water. How's that for efficiency?
So after the Romans, things kinda stayed the same for a long, long time. Then, bam, the Industrial Revolution hits, and suddenly we have a powerful new way to move heat around: steam.
In the 1790s, steam power was the next big thing, and it didn't take long for someone to apply it to heating. Steam is super effective because it gets really hot, but it was also pretty dangerous, complicated, and super noisy. Not long after, someone figured out how to use hot water instead. These hydronic systems were way safer, quieter, and simpler, and that's why they ended up winning the battle for our home.
But don't go thinking steam is a thing of the past. Nope. On a massive citywide scale, it's still an absolute beast. Just look at New York City. Their steam system pumps an incredible 11 million tons of steam under Manhattan every single year. It's what heats some of the biggest buildings in the world.
So let's get back to our homes. The real hero of residential hot water heating was an English engineer named Thomas Treadgold. Back in 1836, he made some huge advancements that paved the way for affordable radiators to start popping up in houses all across the US and Europe by the late 1800s.
So just how dominant did this hot water technology become? Well, the numbers are just staggering. By 2011, a whopping 83% of all homes in England and Wales were heated this way. It became the gold standard for modern comfort.
Okay, so we've got the furnace making the heat, and we've got the pipes moving it around. But something's missing. How do you control the whole thing? This brings us to the brain of the operation. All right, let's just take a quick breath. We've gone from ancient hypocausts to industrial steam power to the hot water systems in most of our houses. Every step was about making heat better. But the next big leap wasn't about making heat at all. It was about managing it. And that's where the thermostat comes in. Its job sounds super simple, but it is absolutely crucial. All it does is measure the temperature in the room and tell the boiler when to turn on and when to turn off. That's it. It's the boss.
So how does it do that? Well, at its heart, it's just a really smart switch. When its sensor says, hey, it's getting chilly in here, it connects two wires, which completes a circuit and tells the boiler, time to get to work. Then, once the room is toasty warm, it breaks that connection, cutting the power and telling the boiler to take a break. It's a simple, brilliant feedback loop that saves a ton of energy. Now, that simple on and off switch has been doing the job perfectly for decades. But right now, we're in the middle of the next big evolution in heating, the smart revolution. Smart thermostats take that basic idea and give it a serious upgrade. They connect to your Wi-Fi, which means you can control your heat from an app on your phone, set really specific schedules, and get this, some of them can even learn your daily routine and adjust the heat for you automatically. And the perks are pretty awesome. You get full control from literally anywhere. You get a system that actually adapts to how you live. And because it's still just a smart on-off switch, you can often install them on older systems without a huge fuss. But the best part? They can help you heat only the rooms you're using, which makes a massive difference in your energy bill. And really, that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, with energy prices always seeming to go up, efficiency isn't just a nice little bonus anymore. It's the single biggest thing driving all the new ideas in heating technology.
So from clever architectural hacks in ancient Egypt all the way to AI-powered thermostats that learn our every move, we have been on an incredible 5,000-year quest. It really makes you stop and wonder, doesn't it? What on earth is the next chapter going to look like in our timeless need to stay warm?